Casey Grimshaw, welcome to A Current Affair. What's happened to these families could happen to any of us. They put their trust and life savings into the RALAN Group, one of Australia's biggest developers. It recently collapsed, owing $500 million. We tracked down the boss looking for some answers.
A lot of the money gone, and we don't know why.
1,200 apartment buyers left in the lurch.
Do you think RALAN specifically targeted Chinese buyers?
Yes. An enormous amount of money unaccounted for.
$500 million, it's an astronomical amount of money.
Sorry, I can't make any comment.
It's like disaster.
As the company's bigwigs reside in some of Sydney's most expensive real estate.
How do you feel for the investors?
I feel awful for the stress it's caused everyone.
A former staff member speaks out.
They don't want us talk to the media.
And a potential class action looms.
I cannot see how you can bring in $292 million into your bank account and not tell the tax man about it. For a very long time, the Chinese community followed the fortunes of RALAN, and by word of mouth, they thought RALAN units were the greatest thing since sliced bread.
It was their $1.4 billion flagship project, the Ruby Collection, built on the former Paradise Resort site at Surfers Paradise. A plan for 1,600 apartments spread across 3 high-rises. But today, only one of the 3 promised towers stands.
They are saying this is 7-star and close to the sea, you can see the water.
Jeanette Zhao purchased apartments in the 2 Ruby Towers that haven't been built yet and perhaps never will. She put down 2 deposits, close to $200,000, and was then asked if she wanted to sign over her deposit to the developer for a 15% return on interest. She felt the offer was too good to refuse.
Did you realise that you could potentially lose all that money?
We didn't realise because they have been 15 years doing the same thing.
The RALAN salesman would ring the purchaser and say, look, we'd like you to release the deposit. We'll pay you 15% interest.
It appears this was a practice that RALAN Group had been doing for some time. Many buyers signed over their deposits, releasing them from the trust account. Those deposits then became unsecured loans for the developer. It's an incredibly risky practice, and with RALAN Group now in receivership, those who signed on the dotted line have very little chance of getting their money back.
In total, we are putting $461,000.
Yan Wong and his wife tipped in all of their superannuation and refinanced their home to buy a little further down the road in Surfers Paradise in RALAN's Sapphire development. They signed over their deposit after RALAN not only offered them 15% interest, but also an attractive rental guarantee.
The guarantee that we have a rental for next 8 years is like $950 per week.
This is not the only questionable sales tactic employed by RALAN. Many clients have told us that RALAN salesmen encourage them to seek legal advice through their own offices.
We only set up the contract with a lawyer which introduced by RALAN.
If you don't trust me from my eyes, you will not sign the contract.
Stanley Gia says he had 100% faith in the apartments he had been selling for RALAN Group. He was a sales consultant for the last decade and had many return customers.
One of my clients, he purchased 4. More than 400,000 lost.
Stanley says in the lead-up to RALAN Group being placed into administration, he had no knowledge that the company was in financial peril.
We always get the positive news until last day.
Excuse me, William. Alison Petrowski from A Current Affair at Channel 9.
William O'Dwyer is the founder and sole director of RALAN Group. So did O'Dwyer know of the perilous state of RALAN's finances in its final weeks of operation?
We just wanted to chat to you about the collapse of the RALAN Group and what's gone on there.
I can't make any comment about that, sorry.
$500 million, it's an astronomical amount of money.
Sorry, I can't make any comment.
How do you feel about the collapse of the company? I mean, it's been something you've been running for a very long time.
I feel awful.
How do you feel for the investors?
I feel awful for the stress it's caused everyone.
Earlier this week, the Sydney Morning Herald obtained financial records of William and his wife Joanne's 4 Amex cards in the month leading up to May 28. There were school fees, shopping trips, $300 at a Double Bay hairdresser, and $856 spent at Vintage Cellars and $309 at Bellevue Hill Bottle Shop, all on the same day. A spend of more than $41,000 in the month leading up to RALAN's collapse. O'Dwyer responded by saying that the money spent on the company Amex were in lieu of drawings or wages or other benefits to which he was entitled. All while O'Dwyer and his family resided in this mansion in Sydney's exclusive suburb of Bellevue Hill, which they purchased for $5.7 million in 2007.
Some of your investors say that the day before your company collapsed that you had people calling them, asking them to put in more money into the investment. Have you got anything to say about that?
I can't make any comment, sorry.
Very, very few people, high management people, they possibly know something.
Numerous sources have suggested to A Current Affair that Jeff Chu, head of sales for the RALAN Group, encouraged his sales team to keep selling, despite the company being on the brink of financial collapse.
Jeff, it's Alison Petrowski from A Current Affair. We just wanted to find out how you were doing after the collapse of RALAN Group, but it appears to me that you might be doing all right.
Chu lives in this waterfront property of Hunters Hill, which he purchased for $7.35 million back in 2012.
Is that your boat out the front?
Neighbours have since confirmed that it is indeed Jeff Chu's boat, and a fairly new addition at that. It arrived just 2 weeks before RALAN Group went into administration. Many investors say they're upset by the lifestyle that the two executives were leading while the company's finances were in disarray.
Do you think that your investors are probably a bit surprised that, you're living in $1 million mansion in Bellevue Hill while they've lost their deposits?
Sorry.
Matthew Bransgrove is from Bransgrove Lawyers, the Sydney law firm taking up the fight on behalf of many of RALAN Group's buyers. He's looking into a possible class action against RALAN lenders Wingate and Westpac.
How could you lend someone that kind of money, the money necessary to build a $1.4 billion development, without scrutinising their accounts?
This is a lifetime saving. We're not going to give up to just let it go. We have to chase it down to the bottom, no matter how long it takes.
The administrator is expected to complete a preliminary investigation by the 30th of November. It's been warning creditors to prepare themselves for bad news.